Michael.
This is war, like I said. And, you know, I was watching Deadline White House today. I saw, number one, Joe Biden in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, did a fantastic job. He needs to do rallies like that, like twice a week. He should do 1-2 times a week. Vice President Kamala Harris should do 1-2 times a week, especially throughout the summer, and get that energy going. But I was watching Deadline White House today, and Cornell Belcher was on, the pollster, African-American pollster, Cornell Belcher. And he talked about how you have Republicans who are circling the wagon around Donald Trump to support Donald Trump. He's been convicted on 34 felonies. He was found liable for sexual assault in New York. He was also found liable for committing fraud when it came to inflating the value of his properties, right? You have someone as flawed as this, and Republicans are circling the wagon around him to support him no matter what. And you have Biden, who had a bad night, but still answered questions more truthfully. Now, he stammered and stuttered, things like this, but he still answered questions more truthfully. Biden-Harris saved the economy, got us out of COVID. They're actually rebuilding America with the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, 56,000 construction projects being funded, okay, because of the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. And you have some weak-ass, punk-ass Democrats who are talking about a brokered convention and running away from Donald Trump. And, you know, this now, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but I sure as hell ain't stupid, okay? You continue to support people who continue to vote for policies that are beneficial to you, and we have to learn how to use Biden-Harris and use these Democrats as a tool, as a political weapon to fight the MAGA extremist domestic terrorists who are working to implement Project 2025, who want to continue to stack the courts, who want to continue to roll back any type of progress African Americans have made, and they're using the courts to do it as well. So we really have to understand what is at stake here. You know, they're trying to take us back to 1890, the Mississippi State Convention, when they imposed poll taxes and literacy tests to suppress the African American vote. This is war.
You're right. It is war. And I keep trying to tell people that in battles, you swing. And what you don't do is you don't run from a fight. Matt? Last night's debate was not a great one for President Joe Biden. He admits that. Today, he was in Raleigh, North Carolina for a rally. And it was a totally different looking and sounding President Joe Biden. Here is some of that rally.
Today, we have the strongest economy in the world without exception. 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, unemployment under 4% for a record 2 years in a row, historic Black and Hispanic unemployment down, historic creation of small business in Black and all communities across the nation, particularly in rural areas, historic economic growth. Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3% and is still going down. I know we have more to do to get prices down. We have to take on corporate greed. They're making twice the profit they were before the pandemic. We got to make housing more affordable, provide child care, make the tax code fair. 16 Nobel winners of the Nobel Prize have looked at my economic plan this week. They've issued a report. And Trump's plan. Here's what they concluded. They said that my plan would continue to grow the economy and bring down inflation. 16 Nobel laureates. And that Trump's plan would send the nation into recession and inflation soaring through the roof. But don't take my word for it. Folks, let me close with this. I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know. Well, I don't. Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up. I know what it took to take our economy from the depths of the pandemic to where it is today, the strongest economy in the world. I know what it'll take to bring this economy to everybody. I know what it'll take to rally the world to stand up against Putin and defend freedom, not yield to him. And I know what it'll take to keep the world safe and free for the years ahead. Folks, I give you my word as a Biden, I would not be running again if I didn't believe with all my heart and soul I can do this job. Because quite frankly, the stakes are too high. The stakes are too high. Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. He's a threat to our freedom. He's a threat to our democracy. He's literally a threat for everything America stands for. Look, he doesn't understand what I think all of you do. America is the finest, the most unique nation in the world. We're the only nation in the world, and I mean this sincerely, it's a fact statement, not a hyperbolic statement, it's fact. We're the only nation in the world built on an idea. All the nations built on ethnicity, geography, and other religion, but we're built on an idea that we're all created equal. We deserve to be treated equally throughout our lives. We've never fully lived up to it. I'll be damned in the year 2024, just 2 years before the 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence, that I'll let Donald Trump walk away from it. I give you my word. I give you my word as a Biden. We're still a nation. I believe we're still a nation that believes in honesty and decency and treating people with respect. I still believe we're a nation that gives everyone a fair shot and leaves nobody behind. We're still a nation that gives hate no safe harbor. And we're still the beacon to the world. We can never give up what makes America, America. Donald Trump is motivated by revenge and retribution. Well, revenge and retribution never built a damn thing. You and I, we Americans are a nation of hope, optimism, and possibilities. That's what always built America. That's going to continue to build America today. The choice in this election is simple. Donald Trump will destroy our democracy. I will defend it. So, folks, are you with me? Donald Trump's the first president I've heard of that stood up there running for president, having been one term, saying America's a failing nation. Where the hell does he think he is? I'm serious. A failing, I don't know a president wouldn't trade places with America in a heartbeat. He's dead wrong. America's not a losing nation. America's winning. As I stand here today, I can honestly say I've never been more optimistic about America's future in my whole career. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity, nothing when we act together.
Vice President Kamala Harris, who was very strong last night, appearances on CNN and MSNBC, has a variety of campaign stops across the country. This is her speaking today in Las Vegas.
For all of that, our president made clear there is a contrast between someone who lies and someone who leads. Let's start with the thing we have always known. Donald Trump is unburdened by the truth. It's not a burden he carries. Case in point, last night, a nonstop stream of lies. He said the neo-Nazi rally in Charlottesville was, quote, fabricated. Well, let us speak the truth. That's a lie. He said the mob he incited at the United States Capitol on January 6th was only a, quote, small number of people who were, quote, ushered in by the police. A lie. He claimed he never called our troops suckers and losers. As General John Kelly can tell you, another lie. Friends, most of us agree. In a real leader, character matters more than style. And Donald Trump simply does not have the character to be president of the United States.
To that point about Charlottesville, this, go to my iPad, this is a tweet. Former mayor of Charlottesville here, Joe Biden, did not make up the Charlottesville story. The reality, Derek, last night, it was not a good performance by President Joe Biden. But the reality is, when you look at what's on the other side, massive, massive lies. Massive, massive lies from Donald Trump. And there was a tweet I saw earlier from Mark Cuban that I thought really was a very strong one that really spoke to this issue here. And people were, and again, you see folks back and forth talking. And so this actually was in response to a tweet from Piers Morgan. I don't give a damn about Piers. I'm not going to show it. Go to my iPad. This is Mark Cuban. His performance was awful, but so was Trump's. Biden was feeble. Trump couldn't directly answer a single question and lied with every response. The question is what features voters believe make a better POTUS: feeble, capable, and ethical versus vigorous, unethical, and incapable of telling the truth. I'll vote ethical every time. The reality is Joe wasn't capable last night of debating someone who only lies. He doesn't have the energy or ability to shout him down, hold him accountable, and laugh at Trump's responses. Joe could have held his own against a candidate that actually can discuss policy, but that wasn't the challenge last night, and Joe wasn't prepared or capable of dealing with Donald and his style. That aside, there is no way you could listen to Donald last night and come away feeling confident that Trump has the ability to go deeper than his practiced sound bites. He repeated himself often and never directly answered the moderator's questions. There was nothing that would give anyone confidence he could hold his own in any complicated situation, or that he could intellectually go toe-to-toe with any world leader or adversary. In fact, his non-answers about J6 and election acceptance should scare every American about his interest in upholding his oath to the Constitution. That doesn't make Biden's performance any less awful, but he answered the questions he was asked, even if the presentation was underwhelming. And we have the last 3+ years and of his being POTUS without his getting laughed or smirked at, no tell-alls or leaks discussing his incompetence, no former advisors or cabinet members saying they won't vote for him. That gives me confidence that in the normal duties of the presidency, he can hold his own and do the job. Unfortunately, this election is not about policies. It's about sound bites, social media, and who delivers them better and the algorithms that deliver them to voters. Trump is far better than Biden at sound bites and marketing. That's reality. For that reason, I'm also open to the discussion to replace Biden and or Harris. It's not like Trump's approval ratings are high. They aren't. It could be an open door to find someone that immediately outperforms Trump. Beyond the loyalty of his hardcore 30% or so, I think a large number of people who currently support him would walk away to a better alternative. But if that doesn't happen, I'm still voting for Biden, the ethical candidate who unquestionably stands by his oath and puts country over self-interest. Derek?
Roland, what you just articulated, my good brother, was succinct and to the point. But let's face it, we have a binary choice come this November 5th. We either want someone that preserves and protects democracy, or we want someone that's want to be a dictator. We either want someone that has a future vision that will include us all, or we want someone that's going to take Project 2025 as his Bible. When we put age aside, as I told the reporters today, because you can only imagine here in Georgia the number of reporters, I said to them, well, Warren Buffett is 93. Nobody says Warren Buffett too old. The Pope is 87, right? So when we put the age aside, Roland, and start looking at the characteristics and doing what you just, articulated and line these two individuals up, Biden will come out on top every time. 4 years ago, Roland, I'll end with this. Trump lost. Who beat him? Biden. Why? Because 4 years ago, we were dealing with COVID. Over 1 million Americans died, Roland. 4 years ago, we had an individual that was in front of the White House at a podium that told individuals to go down 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and convince folks on January 6th to overturn the government. We also, within the last 4 years, Roland, is this. This individual, he's a convicted felon. As a retired military officer, you cannot even get a top secret clearance if you are a felon. And so this binary choice is not the lesser of two evils or which old man that we want to lead us. It is very clear that President Biden today, he took ownership. He said, listen, I'm old. I can't do what I did 30, 40 years ago. But the former president, Barack Obama said, when I was 51, you all wanted to write me off too when I debated against Mitt Romney. And so we got to keep this thing with a clear conscience. And when you think about a person that stood on that stage last night, Roland, that say he took a cognitive test and he got an A+, well, Roland, I took a cognitive test. It's called an IQ, and they don't give you a grade letter. They give you a number, a numeric value. And so we don't want someone that lie, and sow all this disinformation and misinformation and cannot answer the question. If you brought someone on your show as an interviewer and you said you cannot answer the question, not one, I would like to think that you would never hire that person to work in your company. So why should we hire someone like a Donald J. Trump that did not answer the question about climate control? He said something about immaculate water, which I still don't know what immaculate water is. He says something about immigration and black jobs. I'm still looking for what a black job looks like, Roland. And so this person could not answer not one question during that 90-minute debate. That's the period. That's where we are. And so as I told everybody, Democrats, you got to fight. You got to get tough, stand behind Joe Biden. This conversation about a broker convention in August makes no sense, Roland, because they tried that in 1968. And guess what happened? The Democrats lost miserably. And so I don't want to hear no conversation about broker convention. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Democrats need to get tough and let's go to war.
Michael.
This is war, like I said. And, I was watching Deadline White House today. I saw Joe Biden in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, did a fantastic job. He needs to do rallies like that, like twice a week. He should do 1-2 times a week. Vice President Kamala Harris should do 1-2 times a week, especially throughout the summer, and get that energy going. But I was watching Deadline White House today, and Cornell Belcher was on the poster, African-American poster, Cornell Belcher. And he talked about how you have Republicans who are circling the wagon around Donald Trump to support Donald Trump. He's been convicted on 34 felonies. He was found liable for sexual assault in New York. He was also found liable for committing fraud when it came to inflating the value of his properties, right? You have someone as flawed as this, and Republicans are circling the wagon around him to support him no matter what. And you have Biden, who had a bad night, but still answered questions more truthfully. Now, he stammered and stuttered, things like this, but he still answered questions more truthfully. Biden Harris saved the economy, got us out of COVID. They're actually rebuilding America with the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, 56,000 construction projects being funded, okay, because of the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. And you have some weak-ass, punk-ass Democrats who are talking about a broker convention and running away from Donald Trump. And, you know, this now, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but I sure as hell ain't stupid, okay? You continue to support people who continue to vote for policies that are beneficial to you, and we have to learn how to use Biden Harris and use these Democrats as a tool, as a political weapon to fight the MAGA extremist domestic terrorists who are working to implement Project 2025, who want to continue to stack the courts, who want to continue to roll back any type of progress African Americans have made, and they're using the courts to do it as well. So we really have to understand what is at stake here. You know, they're trying to take us back to 1890, the Mississippi State Convention, when they imposed poll taxes and literacy tests to suppress the African American vote. This is war.
You're right. It is war. And I keep trying to tell people that in battles, you swing. And what you don't do is you don't run from a fight. Matt?
I think these brothers have covered most of the substantive issues very well. But all I'll add is a couple of things. I mean, first, the reality is we're talking like people at large care about the policy, but they don't. It's the pageantry. And the reality is, if people in the Biden camp knew that he was prone to the pauses and some of the things mechanically, physically last night that made him look old and out of ability, I guess, out of shape to handle the rigors of the presidency, then they should have been sounding the alarm a lot earlier. I think Democrats now look extremely weak, and they look like, rats trying to flee off a sinking ship, talking about a broker convention and other things getting away from Mr. Biden. And I agree with Michael and Derek insofar as I agree with the policy points in the platform. And, I personally would be voting Biden-Harris. However, I think this does call into question, why are these conversations being had at this 11th hour? I mean, we talked about this on the show months ago. You asked me a question and I mentioned to you he looked old. And we had a whole dialogue about how that's not what we should be talking about. But the reality is, for some people, that's going to move the needle. And I'm wondering why Democrats did not have a more serious conversation about this before this point. Notwithstanding that, yes, it's war, and it's war on the platforms and war on the policy. But at the end of the day, it is a popularity contest largely. And I think it is a huge misstep strategically for the Democrats to wait until the 11th hour to try to triage this. Right. I mean, that's the reality of it. I think Mr. Biden is where he needs to be in terms of his platform and policy. But the presentation is a problem. And the issue is with Donald Trump, as Mark Cuban said, it's all about marketing. It's all about marketing and it's all about presentation. And I don't know how the Democrats did not consider that this very thing could happen, that they are now, trying to triage. I mean, on the shows I watched last night, they were talking to people real time, and the Democratic pundits were, mortified as to his performance. And I don't understand how there were not greater indicia of this potential thing happening in the lead up to this performance. It just seems to me like there's some strategic missteps, and I don't know how you triage it at this point.
Well, here's one of the things that actually also happened. There were different focus groups on different networks, and the reality is there were a number of the people who were watching the debate who were undecided voters, and they started trending towards Joe Biden. I think, and the other deal is, look, CNN dropped the numbers. It's some 51 million watched. This was the lowest watched debate since 2004. The other thing is this here, Derek, it's June 27th. The reality is you have 4 months to continue campaigning. I also say this here, and my panel disagreed with me last night. I'm in this group chat. Folks disagree with me. I dare say, if there's a debate September 10th, you do it. You don't run from it. Listen, if he was cold, if he had a cold last night, if his throat was messed up, guess what? You simply pare down all the damn talking points. I thought he had too much data. Okay, so what happens is too much data in the head. Bring that down and hit critical points. But also, you want him as healthy as possible. The Joe Biden that was in the rally in North Carolina was 180 degrees different than what we saw last night. And so I dare say you don't run from another debate. Put this one in the can. What you do is you say, hey, Joe, you got to. It's sort of like when Teddy Atlas sat on the stool to Michael Moore. It was like, yo, do you want to win this? I mean, that's really what you have to do. And so if you're going to be in this thing, run. If you're not going to run, if you're not going to do interviews, if you're not going to do rallies, if you're not going to campaign, well, damn it, drop out. But if you're going to run, damn it, run.
You know, I told a local reporter here today, they asked, what would I do differently? I said, y'all need to have Roland Martin as one of the moderators. Because, see, Roland Martin ain't going to let Donald Trump continue to filibuster and not answer his question. See, nothing against the moderators last night, Roland. So everybody was expecting for President Biden to fact check his opponent. And that's not the way, having been in many debates, that's not my job to fact check my opponent. Now, every now and then I may say, hey, my opponent is lying, but not everyone should be fact checked by the candidate. The moderator should say, no, sir, no, ma'am, you're wrong. You did not reduce the cost of insulin during your administration because you were not in office in 2023. It's that clear, Roland. And so there's a part where media needs to take some responsibility too, because they're allowing for Trump just to have a full range of lying to the American public and then using their platform to push these lies.
Here's the deal, though. You can't bank on them doing that. And so you're the candidate. You're going to have to push back on the lies. You can't bank. CNN abdicated their responsibility last night. They allowed the lies to go unchecked. And so that's what you have to deal with. That is a reality.
I know, Roland, but there's a part in journalism.
No, I understand that. But they're not going to do it. The next debate is supposed to be on Fox News. They damn sure not going to do it. And so when you know somebody's not going to do it, well, damn it, you got to do it. And see, there were a number of times that he said he called Trump's out on his lies, but you got to be more emphatic with it. And so there's some right. Changes to me. Listen, I don't need to moderate, but I tell you what, I damn sure can have his ass ready in debate prep. I can tell you that. Michael, this was a memo. Brian Stetler posted this. This is a memo from Reid Hoffman. Of course, he is founder of Netflix. So he dropped this memo here. He said, first, Joe is our nominee. Any decision to step aside is up to him and his family, period. If anything, a public effort might compel the Bidens to try to prove the doubters wrong. Joe is a resolute fighter after all. Second, last night's debate revealed nothing new. Not about Biden, not about this racist dynamics and stakes. I tuned into Biden's rally in North Carolina this afternoon. He was energized and brutally effective in taking down Trump's vitriol and lies. See for yourself. I wish we had had that Biden last night, but that's the nature of Joe Biden. When he does poorly, he tends to bounce back and then win. Third, we should note how MAGA responded when Trump was convicted of 34 felonies by unanimous jury of American citizens. They ruthlessly and immediately close ranks because they understand that at this stage of the race, they must spend every minute and dime either boosting their old man or tearing down others. If we're musing on Biden's flaws, we're not organized around Trump's flaws. That's bad for us and good for them. Fourth, and most importantly, being a good president has little to do with being a good debater. Whether an American president succeeds ultimately depends on if A, they have the right values, instincts, patriotism, and courage, and B, they have a fantastic team of leaders around them. Biden demonstrably meets both conditions. Trump is demonstrably a narcissistic criminal whose close allies either desert him or go to jail, which is why his presidency was a festival of corruption and chaos that left the economy in ruins when Biden took office. Fifth and finally, all of the above means Joe Biden can very much still win this election. The fundamentals matter vastly more than a single debate. Perhaps the best historical analogy is from 1984, when Ronald Reagan's first debate performance raised concerns about his age. He turned things around in the next debate and won the election in a landslide. This is real simple, Michael. Democrats, shut the hell up, get your asses in line, and focus on winning.
Absolutely, and back up and surround and support and block for and defend your candidate. This is what I was just saying. This reminds me during the 2020 presidential campaign, and you had one of the debates. You had 12 people for the Democrats, 12 people on stage, and they were attacking policies from the Obama-Biden administration, acting like they were Republicans. Oh, what the hell are you doing? But the other thing, when we look at Joe Biden's history, Joe Biden really has never been a good debater, but he's good at retail politics. Okay, Joe Biden there in Raleigh, North Carolina, that's the Joe Biden retail politics. He needs to do a lot more of that. Okay, do at least two of those a week, especially during the summer. And I would say the next debate is September 10th. The day before that debate, he needs to do one of those rallies also and feed off that energy, allow that momentum to take him into the debate. But goddamn, do you want to win or do you want to lose? What is it that you're doing? Let me know so I know what to do.
See, here's the deal, Matt. All of this back and forth about, replacing folk, it's also grossly disrespectful to the woman who's the vice president of the United States. And that, to me, is shameful and despicable. Where these people, let's call Gretchen Whitmer or Josh Shapiro or let's call Gavin Newsom. And even when Cuban made that point, there's no guarantee to hop into a national campaign in less than 6 months and just swoop in, and folks are going to be like, yay, the cavalry has arrived. Actually, that, as Hoppe says, that creates more problems than you have solutions. Because here's the deal. If you say go to a broker convention, their convention is in the third week of August. That means that, okay, you do a broker convention, you literally then will have September and October to actually get it together. I remember when people when a lot of Hillary Clinton's white women supporters were going crazy after Obama won, and they were talking about creating drama at the convention. And it was like, what the hell y'all think y'all doing? That's the dumbest thing in the world. Yes, you do exactly what Republicans did. Circle the wagons and say, we going to kick y'all ass together.
Yes.
Yes. Take a page out of Bob Menendez's playbook. You get indicted, you're about to go to trial, you just double down. That's what they need to do, is ride Biden into the future, and they need to put him in better circumstances so that they can control performances like this. Because the reality is this. I don't want to sound ageist, and I'm absolutely not ageist. If it was my 86-year-old big mama, she ain't lost a step. But Joe Biden has. That's the reality of it. And you have people who are watching the pageantry of this, not the optics of it. So what they need to do is feed on, I think, a lot of the sound bites that Trump is going to put in the debate. For instance, in that long thing you just read from the gentleman from Netflix, what stood out to me? A festival of corruption. Festival of corruption. If they ran an ad with festival of corruption, that's the kind of thing that your average voter is not going to forget. And I think going forward, they need to employ a better strategy in leveraging the marketability, but also using Mr. Biden's superior knowledge as it relates to policy, especially as to Mr. Trump. But to your point about Kamala Harris, we are not surprised that they didn't call the black woman who's eminently qualified and who has been doing the job, of the number two at this point throughout, their entire administration, and is uniquely qualified as compared to these governors of other states who may not be able to jump into a national campaign. But beyond that, I mean, it's just too late. We're at the point where they need to dance with the one they brought, and that's Joe Biden, and they need to put him in circumstances where he can flourish, because as it relates to substantive policy, there is no question that he is far more qualified than Mr. Trump. But you don't have people who are voting on the deep policy. You have the few undecided voters primarily who are voting on sound bites. And if you don't leverage that, I think you lose an opportunity.
And I think if you're going to talk about sound bites, what you then have to do is actually play sound bites, such as this.
The Trump list, it is way, way longer. So deep breath. He said some Democratic states allow people to execute babies after birth, an egregious lie that is illegal in every state. He said everybody, even Democrats, wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. Roe was supported by 2/3 of Americans, even more Democrats. He said every legal scholar wanted Roe overturned, abortion returned to the states. Legal scholars have told me directly this is not true. He said the U.S. currently has the biggest budget deficit ever. No, that happened under Trump in 2020. He said the U.S. currently has a record record trade deficit with China. That also happened under Trump in 2018. He said Biden personally gets a lot of money from China. Zero evidence of this. He said there were no terror attacks during his presidency. In fact, there were multiple attacks. He said Iran didn't fund Hamas, Hezbollah, other terror groups under his presidency. Iran, in fact, did. He said Biden wants to quadruple people's taxes. That is pure fiction. He said the U.S. has provided way more aid to Ukraine than Europe had. It's actually the opposite. He said the U.S. has provided about $200 billion in Ukraine aid. It's closer to $110 billion. He said 18 or 19 million people have crossed the border under Biden. That is millions too high. He said many of these migrants are from prisons or mental institutions. His own campaign cannot corroborate this. He said Biden has only created jobs for illegal immigrants. Total nonsense. He said Nancy Pelosi turned down his offer of 10,000 National Guard troops on January 6th. There's no evidence she even got such an offer. It was the president, not Pelosi, who had the power to deploy the D.C. Guard. He said Pelosi now acknowledges she turned down the troops. No, her office tells me this claim is still a lie. He said he deployed the National Guard to Minneapolis in 2020. Actually, that was the Democratic governor. He spoke of, quote, ridiculous fraud in the 2020 election. Zero evidence of any widespread fraud. He said NATO was going out of business before he took office. Completely, clearly absurd. He said the U.S. was paying 100% of NATO before he came along. The U.S. made up about 71% of NATO defense spending, not 100. He said he, not Biden, is the one who lowered insulin prices in Medicare. He did it for some seniors, but Biden did it for far more. He said Biden indicted him. Again, no evidence Biden has had a personal role in any of these 4 prosecutions. He said Europe takes no U.S. cars. Just not true. He spoke of food prices quadrupling under Biden. That's a wild exaggeration, though they are up. He said Biden made up the idea he called dead service members suckers and losers. No, the Atlantic magazine reported that, and then former Trump Chief of Staff John Kelly corroborated it. He said Biden called black people, quote, super predators for 10 years. Biden never once deployed that phrase, let alone for 10 years, though he did at least once speak of, quote, predators without specifying it was about black people. He said his Trump tax cut was the largest in U.S. history. Not true, though, in fairness, Biden also said this. Trump said China and others stopped buying from Iran under him. China never stopped. He revived his pet lie, I don't know how many times I've done it, that he signed the Veterans Choice Program into law. Barack Obama did that in 2014. Trump signed an expanded version in 2018. And finally, Trump said Biden got rid of that Veterans Program. Biden has not done that.
Now, here's what I don't understand. I don't understand, Derek, why in the hell you're CNN and you don't have Daniel Dale sitting right there going, where they go, Daniel. In the last round, there were a lot of statements made by Presidents Biden and Trump. What's the fact check? Fact check in real time. CNN abdicated responsibility. And this is, for me, where you don't just say, hey, voters, we're just going to allow you to hear them talk, and then you decide. No, you stand on truth.
And this is the point that I was attempting to make. And I'm glad you circle back to this point, Roland, because we all know a lie can travel around the globe much faster than the truth. It can go viral faster than the truth. And I don't see this video going as viral as it should. And so, and to the point about the broker convention, just to add to your point, Roland, people don't understand what a broker convention is. You got 4,000 delegates. And of that 4,000, that individual needs to get 2,000 of the delegates to vote with them, but they need to have 600 of those delegates to even qualify. And then to your point, Roland, they're going to have 2 months to raise money, and if they can get on the ballot in all the 50 states. So when people start talking about broker convention, yes, they are disrespecting Kamala Harris, but they don't understand what a broker convention and what is required. And so, yeah, that fact checking is spot on. I'm glad you highlighted because as I often do, I'm just going to push it. And I know it won't go viral because people are like, yeah, that's CNN or that's Roland Martin. We ain't going to believe all that.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy to me, Michael, that they could sit there and literally allow lie after lie after lie after lie and not one time say, sure, that's wrong.
Right. I agree. I watched the entire debate, and it was a 90-minute propaganda infomercial for Donald Trump, lie after lie after lie after lie. And even as it's hard as he's saying the lie, right after that, it may be hard to like fact check every single one. But when they came back from commercial break, that first commercial break, you could do fact checking of some of those previous lies that he told, things like the biggest whoppers that he told. You may not hit everything, but I would encourage people. NBCnews.com has a good one, fact-checking Biden and Trump's claims at the first debate. They go through and look at different statements they both made, and overwhelmingly, Trump told a lot more lies than Biden, and they provide the evidence as well. And this is a good learning tool to help people understand politics also. But I agree with you, Roland, and Biden is going, even though Biden did call some of those lies that Trump told, even though he said they were lies, I think he's going to have to be more forceful in the next debate when Trump spews those lies.
Matt?
I don't think they should be allowed to lie with impunity, but I think the focus should be less on just the lies and should be on the comprehensive policy. And I think Derek said this earlier, but if you listen to the debate, I didn't watch the entire thing, the part I got to watch, virtually every question, the answer that came from Joe Biden was full of policy. Even if there was a misstep or maybe a slight mischaracterization, there was policy. With Trump, it was all vibes, and vibes are cool, but they can only take you so far. And I think hopefully the people that are watching are recognizing that that's really what's on display here, even outside of the fact checking. You have someone who is actually able to have discourse in the policy because they understand how things work, as opposed to someone who is trying to just dismantle everything and put in his own, approach to things. And we know that didn't work during his administration. So I think that's what's really salient here. And I do think they should have real-time fact-checking. But more than that, I think they should press him even harder on the policy. I mean, he got asked unequivocal questions and didn't answer them at all, right? I mean, just completely provided no policy basis. And that's what should have people concerned. If you are truly an undecided voter, even if you're considering Mr. Trump, you should say, this guy obviously can't answer the question and does not know enough about how it works to put my mind at ease that he can do this job effectively. That should be really the questions we're looking at.
A little bit early, we played some of what Vice President Kamala Harris had to say in Las Vegas. I think it's important for us to actually hear all of it. And so here is the VP earlier today.
Thank you. It is so good to be back in Nevada, and thank you all the leaders who are here. Thank you. And can we please hear it for Dr. Norma and her extraordinary life and leadership, please. So I want to thank everyone who is here today. I want to thank all the elected leaders who are here. I know Senator Catherine Cortez Masto was here earlier. She and I were AGs together. She is doing an extraordinary job as a senator. Senator Mark Kelly, who is just always fighting for the people of Nevada and using his lifelong dedication to our country in a way that is about service and uplifting so many people. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, thank you for your leadership. And, of course, Senator Jackie Rosen, who we will re-elect this November. And on behalf of my husband, the second gentleman of the United States, we together thank all the friends and the long-standing supporters who are here, including the leaders of LULAC. It is so good. It is so good to be with all of you. All right, so last night, President Joe Biden and Donald Trump had their first debate. And earlier today, the president said himself it was not his best performance. But there are three things that were true yesterday before the debate that are still true today. Let's level set on this, all right? First, the stakes of this race could not be higher. Second, the contrast in this election could not be more stark. And third, We believe in our President, Joe Biden, and we believe in what he stands for. That's right. And to that point, we all know, let's not forget, he beat Donald Trump once. And in Nevada, with your help, we're going to do it again. And we're going to win because for all the punditry last night, for all of that, our president made clear there is a contrast between someone who lies and someone who leads. Let's start with the thing we have always known. Donald Trump is unburdened by the truth. It's not a burden he carries. Case in point, last night, a non-stop stream of lies. He said the neo-Nazi rally in Charlottesville was, quote, fabricated. Well, let us speak the truth. That's a lie. He said the mob he incited at the United States Capitol on January 6th was only a, quote, small number of people who were, quote, ushered in by the police. A lie. He claimed he never called our troops suckers and losers. As General John Kelly can tell you, another lie. Friends, most of us agree. In a real leader, character matters more than style. And Donald Trump simply does not have the character to be President of the United States. For further context, consider more than 20 of his former top leaders, from his former Secretary of Defense to his National Security Advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, have spoken out against Trump. And note, between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, only one candidate on that stage has the endorsement of his own vice president, Joe Biden. And former Vice President Pence is evidently not supporting a second term for Trump because he knows Trump is a threat to our democracy, and he only fights for himself, not you. Now, some of you might remember that recently, when Donald Trump was here in Las Vegas, in 104-degree heat, he told a crowd, quote, "I don't care about you, I just want your vote." Well, that's about the only thing he said lately that rings true. Nevada, as vice president, I see Joe Biden when the cameras are on and when the cameras are off, in the Oval Office, negotiating bipartisan deals. I see him in the Situation Room, keeping our country safe. On the world stage, meeting with foreign leaders who often ask for his advice. Joe Biden is a leader who always fights for the people of our nation. He fights and he wins. And he wins. And he wins. Think about it. Think about it in terms of who our president is. Guided by the knowledge that Latinos are 70% more likely to have diabetes, Joe Biden took on Big Pharma and capped the cost of insulin for our seniors at $35 a month. He negotiated with Republicans and Democrats and passed historic legislation, the largest infrastructure investment in generations, and the first major gun safety law in nearly 30 years. And Las Vegas knows why that is important. He strengthened NATO and stood up to Putin, bringing together our allies around the world. Nevada last night clarified the stakes of this election. On the economy, Joe Biden pointed out how economists, including Nobel Prize-winning economists, have determined, check this out, have determined Trump's economic plans going forward would raise inflation and send us into a recession by 2025. This is their findings based on reviewing his plans. On democracy, last night Donald Trump repeatedly refused to commit to agree he would accept the results of the 2024 election. And finally, on the subject of reproductive freedom, last night Trump called the overturning of Roe versus Wade a, quote, great thing. And as President Biden has said, we know Trump will sign a national abortion ban if he gets the chance. But we won't let him. We won't let him. Because we trust women to know what is in their own best interest as opposed to having their government tell them what to do with their bodies. So, listen, we've got 130 days, I'm counting, until Election Day. 130 days. And this race will not be decided by one night in June. This race will be decided by you, by us. Who sits in the White House next year will be determined by what we together do in these next 130 days. And ultimately, in this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law, or a country of chaos, fear, and hate? We each have the power, each of us has the power to answer this question with our vote and with our voice. So today I ask Nevada, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
That was Vice President Kamala Harris earlier today in Las Vegas. Real quick, Matt, I'm telling you, you're going to see a lot more of her on the campaign trail. And as for the Biden-Harris campaign, they better buckle up because they're going to need her aggressively doing things like that all across this country.
In all the battleground states with all the sound bites. You're exactly right. I mean, they need to let her do what she does best, which is rhetoric. That's what this is about. That's what's driving the undecided voters, or I think will drive them to make the right decision. And I think they need to use her in that capacity as forcefully as possible.
Michael.
Oh, absolutely. They need to have her out pretty much every day, every other day. That was fantastic. And she fact-checked Trump as well. And you need that energy. And she resonates better with younger voters also than Biden does. So she's his best weapon.
Derek?
Yeah, I agree with Matt and Michael. The only thing I would add to deploy Kamala in all 11 southern states, all 11 of them. Louisiana, Texas, all of them. Not just the battleground states, but in all of them.
All right, folks, appreciate it. Hold tight 1 second. We come real back. Quick, Michael, you had an announcement real quick. Go.
Yeah, join me Sunday, June 30th, 2024 for my new 10-week online course, Black Resistance Movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. Most importantly, we look at how we fought back against white supremacy and racism, the various ways we did that. Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register today, watch the class live or on demand. We'll see you in class. Thanks,
all right,
Roland.
Thanks a bunch. And again, folks, we'll see y'all tomorrow from the Poor People's Mass Assembly here in the nation's capital.
Join me Sunday, June 30th, 2024, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for my new 10-week online history course, Black Resistance Movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep. You see me on the African History Network show and Roland Martin Unfiltered, as well as a Reba Martin show on KBLA 1580 AM. This class looks at history chronologically from 1800 through 1968 to 1971. And we look at what leads up to the Civil War taking place. We look at the Reconstruction Era, 1865, 1877, the Jim Crow Era, World War I, World War II, Great Migration, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, and to get a better understanding of the different ways African Americans fought back against white supremacy and racism, how we fought back through armed resistance, how we fought back through economic empowerment and business ownership and the cooperative economics movement, how we fought back when it came to the labor movement and in the courts and legal strategies, court cases, etc. Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can watch this class live or on demand. Your understanding of history is based upon your understanding of politics. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Scroll down past the first online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understand the Transatlantic Slave Trade. You can still register for that class. But this new one right here, Black Resistance Movements, this really ties into the political climate, what we see going on in America right now, the backlash against diversity, equity, and inclusion, the resistance against any type of reparative justice or reparations, the attack on voting rights as well, the January 6, 2021 insurrection, which was political violence. All of this is what we see. The seeds of all this during this period of time from 1800 to 1970. Okay, so this 10-week online course, Black Resistance Movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement. You can register right here for it. Click right here, register for full course. It's on sale, $80. You can register for both classes. We have a bundle pack for $120. It's about a $300 value. There's going to be some bonus content. You're going to get my Juneteenth lecture free when you register for this new class as well, Black Resistance Movements. Okay, so visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com.